I feel so honored to turn the tables and be able to ask Dar some questions because since I've been around her for so many years and since we've worked together, I have firsthand witnessed the amount of questions she gets about collaboration, outreach, partnership. And I thought, wow, we should get on this platform and I should just ask the questions I've heard people ask the most so you can share your wisdom with
Let's
everyone.
go.
Okay, Dar, let's get started. And I think the first question, because you work with so many wellness practitioners, right? And these are the healers of the world, the people that give so generously of themselves. But sometimes, regardless of how talented they have trouble getting their names out there, getting the
Mhm.
exposure that they want. So, what do you think are some key steps that these healers can take to get more exposure, to increase their reach in today's world?
Yeah. I always tell this to people, my clients, when I've done mentorship one-on-one, is that I recommend everyone get their astrology done and their
Yeah.
human design done. Let's just start there, right? With the foundation, the data, the information about how you show up in this world more in flow, right? So there's people that do really well on a stage. There's other people that do well on a stage of 10, but not maybe of thousands. Maybe they do really well with writing for their community, or even communicating through text message or calling. I think there's a lot of insights in understanding your human design and your astrology to understand how you show up and can easily promote yourself in a way that feels in alignment with you. I think there's a lot of comparison. Go ahead.
No,
I
I
see
was
you're
going to
thinking.
ask if you think that it helps to have a human design practitioner or an astrologer to help
Yeah,
you, because sometimes I
yeah,
think if you ask yourself, like, what feels natural for you to do, sometimes you are answering that question from a lens of like your own
yeah,
insecurities,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely. No,
when you
totally
right,
recommend somebody going to an astrologer and a human design. All those
yeah,
things are available on the wellnessculture.co. In our website under book resources for the Healer's Playbook. I have a list of practitioners. And I truly believe that you're totally right, Jamie. Having reading your chart, going to the pattern or apps for human design, I think they're all beautiful, right? They're all a good access point, an easy way of reference. But when you work with a practitioner, they're seeing you from outside and able to understand and having the experience working with other people, how these patterns show up and how maybe they've seen someone similar to you, that they've seen how they've been able to share themselves in a much more inflow or authentic way for themselves. So I think that understanding that is the foundation of that initial work to go into these readings, going into the conversations with, hey, I am interested in telling the astrologer and telling the
yeah,
human design person what you need out of that reading, with that intention of understanding how you best are sharing your gifts with the world. Is it through writing? Is it through public speaking? Is it through audio? Is it through videos? Asking them, in my human design and my architecture, like how I show up in the world, how can I best promote myself? How can I best make connections? What are the methods in which do I need to wait for things to come to me? Do I go out and understanding how you best promote and market yourself? I think that's the first step. Having that conversation with someone, because what works for you might not work for somebody else and vice versa. So I tell practitioners and healers in this space, what is the way, where do you feel most in flow? What feels most natural? And I think the second thing is push your limits. Once you have that information, meditate on it, see it. And there's now with ChatGPT, just going to throw that out there, you can put into ChatGPT and other AI systems. And I've done this where I put in my human design, my bio, what I do, and then I tell it, create a marketing plan based on a week marketing plan for social, whatever it is, or even ask the questions based on my human design and all the information I have in my astrology. How do you think I could best promote myself? And what is the copy and writing that will support what I'm doing people and connect with the right people that I would attract naturally because of what they're seeking. And I think that's the goal there, that there's people are selling amazing coaching and sales and marketing funnels and all that. but there it has to be really uniquely positioned. I don't think it's one size fits all, and I think that's where everybody gets lost and overwhelmed
Yeah,
because
definitely.
there's so much noise out there, and I am always about what does your soul tell you're meant to be and do more than looking around what everybody else is doing. So I would say that's the first step.
And I think for healers, like I consider myself a healer. I followed this
Mhm.
piece of advice. You put me in touch with an astrologer,
Yeah.
Daryl from Guiding
Yeah.
Planet. And he's helped me so much with this
Mhm.
because prior to working with him 2 years ago, it wasn't natural for me to broadcast myself. But
Yep.
in looking at my chart, he was explaining how important it was for me to both broadcast myself and use the written word to share my gifts with the world. And I
Wow.
really took that as part of my soul's path and have been doing that and feel that has been what has made putting myself out there feel more natural. Even though,
Mhm.
and that's why I brought up the whole thing about your insecurities, because if you just say what feels comfortable and natural to me or what do I like doing, it's
Mhm.
very easy to get stuck in a place that keeps you small and safe and comfortable versus
Mhm.
actually gets you the reach that you want.
That's why it's so important to invest in the right people, your healers,
Your healing
people that are
entourage.
your healing entourage. I love that. Remind you, you're one of my people that I call. When I can't remember, I call you to remind me. But also, besides that, having a good coach, having an astrologer, having a human design. Sam is actually going to be on our podcast soon. All about getting the right people around you to remind you in those moments when you're doubting yourself about what you're supposed to do because everything on social media, you're questioning yourself. I tell this to people over and over again. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah,
Little gentle push, the
yeah,
affirmation that just gets you going in the right direction. Okay, so that's
totally.
step one. What are some other
Mhm,
important steps
mhm.
for the wellness entrepreneur or the healer to get themselves more recognized, to reach a
Well,
larger audience?
I'm gonna say, like, I'm holding up my book, The Healer's Playbook, right now for those that are listening on audio only,
I have all of the steps listed
in the
in
book
the book.
right
Yeah.
here. The first thing was for me to understand what are your values so then you can know who to partner with. And so then I thought, oh, I have a really great exercise inside the book about exploring your values, right? And how do you determine your values? And therefore, your values are so important to determine what feels good and what doesn't. What feels a little icky when you're like exploring partnerships or a potential person to collaborate with or a brand. Does that
Can you
brand
say
have
a
the
little bit
same
more
value?
about what that means when you say icky?
Doesn't feel right.
How might they
Well,
know?
I would love to know how it feels for you when it feels icky. I feel like everybody has a different way of which it's like things don't flow. Do
Don't
not
compromise your
ever.
value. Pay attention to that inner guidance that you have within you that says this is
Mhm.
something that can catapult me and feels aligned, or this is something
Yep.
that I'm only doing for the end result that is
Mhm.
not in alignment and is making me compromise my values. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that what that
Really important.
does no, thank you for that, like, expansion of my icky expression.
No, I think it's such an important point.
Yeah, it's that feeling that it's not aligned, and ultimately, we pay for that at the end. Maybe you do get that partnership or you get that check. Is it a one-time thing? That partnership piece is really important. We're knowing who to align with, and then I tell this to people all the time. It's go outside of your network. Try to find somebody outside of an industry or your location, demographic, when people really integrate or cross pollinate because they have the same missions, but not necessarily the same demographic or
Okay.
location.
So right now we have first and foremost,
Mhm.
consult with somebody that can help you affirm the best ways for you to put yourself out there. Then, secondly, it is understanding your values and choosing people that are aligned energetically, at least with those values. And then, third, is you want people that are aligned, but you also want people, from what I'm hearing from you, that reach a different demographic or something slightly different from you so that you can create like a symbiotic partnership relationship with
Yeah.
person or brand or company.
The easiest thing is for us to always be around the same people, potentially the same people in our location, in our community. And I think, of course, collaborations like that are amazing, but there's a beauty when we want to reach new people, new audiences on an oversaturated IG and
Yeah.
social media platforms, as we're all seeing that the algorithm is not working. So, what can, with our relationships, if we want to say point number, what is it, 4 at this
Yep.
point, the biggest clients I've received, it's all through referral. It's all through someone that I know that knows my work that I either worked with in the past or connected me to someone built on relationships. As our world becomes more and more on AI and digital, the human connection is going to be even more necessary for us to create meaningful and lasting relationships and therefore partnerships.
Leverage your network or your
Yes.
relationships.
Yeah.
Because this might be totally new for people again. So if they've consulted with someone that helps them know the best soul aligned way to get themselves out there. So they know whether that is writing or doing podcasts or social media. I also know who I am. And now I am going out to either people who are aligned but have a diverse audience or my network. So it's 3 and 4 there. Where should they start? How do they do that? What are they asking?
We've done a lot of introspective work. So we've
Right.
done much more in our society now. It's all about external and going out first or getting the healer to tell you or the coach to tell you. But my method is that you do all the work first before you
Yeah.
go out.
Inner work
It's all
first.
about the inner work first, even in your business. Like, why would it be any different? Why would it
Yep.
be any different than our own personal practice? So you go and you do all of that work in the beginning, you understand your values, you understand your mission in this world, and you're just like, okay, with that information, you're basically 3 and 4 is going out to do that outreach. And so what I believe really strongly is people need instructions and they need direction. So
Mhm.
I'm going to give you an example for myself. When I launched my book, I have become really good at asking for support. When we're doing outreach, we're like, oh, I don't want to bother anyone.
Healers who are so
Absolutely.
used to giving and not used to receiving or asking for help. So I think this is like
Absolutely.
very critical what you're sharing right now
Mhm,
is how that they
mhm.
can do this and it feel good, supportive, organic, however you want to say it. So this is
Yeah.
very important. I just want to preface this for all
Yeah.
the other healers out there. How
Yeah.
to ask for collaboration.
I think that understanding the ask is really important. So, the ask when we're pitching to an investor, I think about the times when I was in banking, right? Or when I was working in media and there was an artist being pitched. You have to be very intentional about that. When I was launching my book, I remembered that I did that internal work where I was like, what is exactly that I need to ask from others about what I need in this moment as I launch my book? So I made it really clear and simple. I wrote down 4 ways that they can support me. You can buy the book, you can review the book, you can then share it with someone else, or connect me to a podcast or an organization that would need this book and it could be supportive to them. So, one of the things that I've learned through my experience of going through chronic illness and living in this place of understanding this importance of exchange, of communication, of what our needs are, right? For those that are open or willing and want to be in that relationship with us, is asking for the things that we need and doing that. And so, I've gotten really much better at this. When we go for to ask for the help and the support, if we don't do that work, we're putting it on the other person to tell us how they can help us, but without the context of what our needs are, if that makes sense. So by
Yep.
doing that initial work, we say, I and knowing what that person who they know, the brands that they're in, they're connected to you, asking, say, this is my goal. I'm going to give you the example of the book. I want every healer and practitioner in the world to have the book, and I need your help to get the word out. Do you know of any podcast, brand, or center that supports healers that I can get this book at? So that's a very clear ask.
This is a great example of leveraging your network, your relationships, even maybe identifying those in your network and relationships that have that diverse audience to get you in front of people that are not already in your database or not already following you.
Yeah.
So then I want to hear the next step. I think I can comfortably ask people I know for something specific. Now, let's say they put you in touch with people, podcasts, or tell you the names of local community centers or yoga studios or bigger companies or brands. Well, let's just go there. And do you ask from people that you don't have a previous relationship with?
Great question. It's one that I know we've talked about, and it's something that I am fascinated in giving the guidelines to my clients about. First of all, in that outreach, I always love to ask in the initial outreach is let me know what you're working on and how I can support you. So there's this even in that initial conversation. And once they
Even with your own network. Yeah.
absolutely. I want to know what's going on with you. Then how can I support you?
Yeah.
The courtesy of understanding what's going on with everyone's working on a project. Everyone's doing something amazing. Everyone has something that they're passionate about. It's beautiful to know what other people's passions are so then you can show up when they need it or even to keep them in your mind of, oh, this is something they're working on. Let me connect them to this other person. So there is that collaboration of energy of exchange. That's extremely important. And as we do reach out to these new people, and I tend to keep track of it. Maybe it might be the Virgo in me and also just helps me connect with either through my gratitude practice that I do every week or with a list that I have of my contacts. I actually do keep track of who's connecting me to who because that helps a lot with just reflection and then being able to remember. And when I do it is in a spreadsheet. Very simply, I have the name, the contact, and any notes that I need so I can refer to them later on. And so, what I think there from that point is the ask needs to come from a place of giving them all the information that they need. So, this contact, let's give the example. Jamie Rabin has connected me to the OWN network.
I have. There you go.
In the email, either that person has made the introduction, and if let's say you have made the introduction, I need to provide you with all of the information so that email is not another job for you to create. I am providing you with the information of here's the email, here's what I'm doing, and this is why I think this connection is a powerful one. Darlene has this amazing book. You need to get it in the hands of Oprah or anyone else in the network. And I can't wait for you all to connect. I've provided you with the information. I've provided you with links. I've provided you with my media kit, whatever it is. And I think that's really important. I talk about that in the book. A lot of people talk about partnerships. They talk about creating opportunities to be on stages with people and want to be the next Oprah. Yet on their website, they have nothing on their website or on their pinned on social that has them speaking to the camera.
That's a really good one because you can be asking for all these things, but if you think about
Have you
where
done all the
they're
work?
going,
Hopefully, you've already done that. Again, that's why I tell people to buy the book, step number 2, because of that. Because in the book, we go through all the things to prepare yourself for these things that you want to manifest. But are your actions showing that through what you share in the world, which could be a website simply, or it could be on Instagram or whatever platform. We're not stuck on any platforms. These are ever evolving. As Gary Vee says,
day
I
trading
think that's
attention.
where is the attention? I remember at Chopra, I would get all the contacts of people reaching out to me wanting
Yeah.
to partner with us or be on an IG Live or come to a retreat to speak or be talent on our app. There was nothing on any digital platform that I can find of how they spoke on stage. Any B-roll, sizzle reel of them, be it audio, be it on stage. So if we're saying these things, like, are we really believing it? And are we showing the universe, the world, that's what we're ready for? Having that ready for that conversation when that email exchange or text message exchange or on LinkedIn happens, that those things are ready and happening for that to be seamless. Because one of the things that I really didn't love was when people didn't have that stuff together. I could tell how the interaction was going to be. I could tell how it was going to work with that talent. The easiest talent I will rebook. If it wasn't an easy interaction, 100 emails for one thing, I don't know if I'm going to rebook you. Keep the conversation concise, keep it professional, keep it supportive and engaging, and be as excited. And I think that's the hardest part when we're creating those emails. Be as excited as you are and come from that place when you do write it. And again, use chat. Say, this is my human design. This is what I want to create. This is my astrology. This is the brands that I want to work with. Can you create the best bomb email that I can send, that I can have as a template? And use it and make it personable every time. Make it personal so it doesn't sound like it's chat or any other thing. It's you. But what chat does really well is that it helps you be that editor for you as you're building and doing the outreach. Save it on your Google Drive, save that document so you copy paste it.
That's really good because I think for, again, who we're talking to here is the
Yeah.
healers of the world. It is so much easier for us to get excited and talk about someone else than
Talk
it
about
is to build ourselves up in an email
Mm.
or have that same level of excitement for what it is that you want.
Yeah.
ChatGPT really helps, creates like an objective third party to help you
Yeah.
look yourself in that way. When I was writing my book proposal for literary agents and publishers, the hardest part of it wasn't writing my book, it wasn't writing about the book, it was literally writing about myself
Yep.
and why the literary agents and publishers should pay attention to me. But I will say that was such a, it pushed me on to my edges, but it was very like transformative for me because it helped me. And I think that this is also like a little tip that I'll give is to step back, even maybe before you even write these emails, and write down some of your own accomplishments, whether that's in the wellness world or whatever it is, so that you can really step into that sense of
Yeah.
confidence
Yeah.
before you even craft like an email like this. Because I
Mhm.
think if you look back at the people you've helped, the degrees or certifications you've received, whatever it may be, I think
Mhm.
that mostly every healer can come up with a few things that
Yeah.
they're really proud of. And I think getting into that energy when writing these emails to potential partners, I think is really important. Remember who the F you are.
Yes. I talk about that in the book. I think that's why I included so many journal prompts, so many of them in there, because I want people that are doing this work that is so deeply connected to their own wounds to be able to do that self work first before they do the business to dos and these practices that really are important to do, but are so hard when you don't do the heart opening, not what we perceive of ourselves, but the realities of the things that we have accomplished. So I have that in the book of a list of what have you done? How have you changed people's lives? What are the certifications? What qualifies you? And you look at it and you're like, wow, I've really done a lot of stuff. Like I love when I do these podcasts and like they read my bio and it's so funny to hear somebody else. I'm like, oh wow, that person sounds cool. Oh wait,
Yeah, that's me.
wow. So
Wow.
it's really fun to do those exercises and very scary at the same time. Do that internal work. So then when you are creating these emails and doing this outreach, it comes from a grounded place and also a place of not scarcity or lack, but a place of abundance, joy, and collaboration. Because ultimately, what is it that we're asking for? We're asking to collaborate with people that are new, that have opportunities, potentially ways to connect you. I have to tell you, like the people that I have called, maybe I didn't have an opportunity at the moment. The people I call back for that is the ones that I had the most pleasant conversation, the ones that asked me what I had going on. They wanted to get to know me personally, my journey. And I called them years later for opportunities. Maybe it's not right then, but if the energy feels of taking, we know when that
Okay.
feels that energy of taking versus an energy of collaboration, I think that could also be difficult.
So you've had the email, the original email sent, the one that you drafted for the person
Mhm.
that might have the connections. They send the email. They said, love you to meet my friend Dar. She has this new book launch. I think you two will hit it off. I'm going to leave you to it. Right. So
Mhm.
now you're saying when you start interacting, once you've got that initial connection, the most is to keep that theme, how you can care about what's going on in their life, not just about asking for what you need without also giving. So tell us a little bit more what that actually looks like when you were doing that for Chopra. The people that made the biggest impact, you're saying, are the ones that asked about what was going on, not just
Yeah.
themselves.
I think relationships are like at the core everything for me. When I think of what I do for people, it is relationships, it's connection. That's why people call me the wellness connector. I gratefully have kept a really great relationship through my industries of banking, media, and now wellness. And I think that at the core of it is that I deeply care about people and I love meeting new people. I love getting to know people and their stories. And I think that when we come from that place to connect with others, that's the differentiator. It is about getting to know the person. Even in my contact form for my personal use, I have tell me something you're working on and something you're passionate about doing this year. I want to know what is going on in your life so then if I could be of support to you, then I can. I'll make that connection
Yeah.
and then or create an amazing partnership or create an event, whatever, refer you to a client. And so I think that the thing to focus on when we are interacting in these relationships of through email, through text, through IG, I met such amazing people on social media or in LinkedIn. I just did a podcast of someone that saw my LinkedIn post and they're like, "Hey, I want you to be on my podcast." And I'm like, "Great." I'm just interested in people. And I think that when you come to things in that form, you then create meaningful relationships that are past the transaction of the thing that you initially are inquiring about, but building lasting relationships. So I think it's about being inquisitive. I think that's a really being curious.
Let's use this example of the OWN network. So I connected you. I said, this is my friend Dar. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Yeah. The first thing is that I thank you for referring me to them in
You're
that same blind copy you. So I put you on that for the last time.
They appreciate that very much. So yeah.
Blind copy them and then send them off their way. The connection of getting on a call and a 30-minute call where you can go deeper is really important at that point because there's so much that could happen in that initial email. I think the person will let you know what they think of or what is evoked from that email, right? They can be like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about this one may be great. Okay, let's get on the phone and just ask for 30 minutes of a call to go in and share. They already have your media kit. They know what you do. They know the book and get on the phone with them
Is
and
there a way you can put that energy of caring in the email so it's not just, hey, can you get on a call for 30 minutes?
you've made such an amazing introduction based on everything I've shared with you already that you already did that warm intro. That warm intro has already been done. So it's on me to now respond with, I'm excited to connect. I'm in LA. What about you?
Got it? That's
And
connecting.
then
So it's
and connecting, where
Mhm.
are they? Where am I? And then again, in your signature, you probably have a link to who your IG you have. So if they want to go deeper into anything, they can do that. And then they respond. And by the way, like depending on the response, you might get on the phone with them or you might not. But
Yeah.
add them to your list because sometimes people are going, and especially in organizations, everybody's going through a lot of shifts and changes. Give them the grace of understanding that this is not the only thing they have going on in their life. So
Yes.
therefore, it's not that they don't take it personal if you don't hear from them. I know that's really hard, but take the time, maybe follow them on LinkedIn, maybe find them if they're public on Instagram, follow them on Instagram. Don't get too creepy and request them if they're private because that gets really weird. But
Don't get
just
creepy. Put that as one of the steps.
okay, I don't know what was the other thing I said creepy and then the before I said
Icky,
sticky.
icky,
Wow,
right?
I'm like my vocabulary is like killing it today. It's basically like thinking about just making that connection beyond that email and thinking about them when opportunities come up or connections of things that come up. It's very natural and I know that this is why we're having this
Yep,
conversation.
that's why
For me
yeah,
it's
very
visual
natural.
and I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I probably messed up a few relationships in the past of like people thinking I'm like too friendly, but I think that also it's just not an alignment then
But you're
going
just
back
saying,
to
like,
that.
err on the side of caring and being friendly. That's the better probably the better
You
way.
don't lose anything. You don't lose anything. And then
Yeah.
ultimately, again, they've received that warm intro. They know what you're looking for. Ultimately, the worst thing is to get on a call and you don't know what the call's about. By the way, they know what they're getting into, and people are much more open to having a conversation if they know the ask.
And you know that the connector has warmed it up appropriately because you gave me the
Yes.
draft that I'm
Yes.
gonna be sending, and maybe I made it my own or whatever, but, like,
Mhm.
I knew exactly what you wanted me to say, so I set that up.
Yep.
Then you came in with a caring, nice way, "Let's get on a call." Now you get on the call, and
Yeah.
how do you make whatever the big ask is that you do in the own network how do I get my book in the hands of Oprah? That's what
I
you're
would,
thinking,
by the
right?
way, I would always get that request from being at Chopra.
Right. Yeah.
I think that ultimately it is about, I think they're at that point of this cycle of
Yep.
doing these like brand outreach and collaboration is about saying, this is what my goal is. How does this align with your goals?
That's so good. You want to know what you're asking, but at that point,
What are
like
your
it's
goals? What's going on in your organization in the next 6 months to a year? How can this book be of support as you're planning out your programming, as you're planning out your events? Give them some ideas
yeah.
to get their like motor, like their brain working on,
Yep.
that could work. Oh, maybe it's internal, it's maybe with HR, it's employee focused, or maybe it's connected to an event that this could be supportive of. Maybe do research specifically on the programs or shows or other talent that they're interested. And I think giving them those ideas and brainstorming with them in that process feels very, again, you're starting to collaborate in that moment.
No, I
Like,
think that's such good advice because I think so many people are in the like fear of even asking for something that they want support with. And I guess
yeah,
it's one thing to ask for your people that are in your network while still seeing how you can support them. But then when
yeah.
you get to the conversation of where you really want to make some sort of collaboration happen, I think people, it doesn't come as natural to people. They're just like, because you've seen this happen so many times. It's,
Mhm,
I have this
mhm.
book, or I'm doing this, or like more than 5 minutes, and they're just talking about all the things they're doing in the world. And you're just like, okay. But I love, like, what you're saying is like already start collaborating on ideas of how there can be that partnership.
You're already showing them how you can be a great partner.
Yeah.
You're
That's
already
so
showing
awesome.
them. You're
Yep.
showing them that you can come in with an idea and then evolve or change or pivot. You are open. I think the best people that I've worked with at Chopra and other brands is those that are open to changing what they came in to do, but they're willing to evolve or change their ideas to set your goals. Because what is going to motivate them to say yes to you or to bring you into their organization or bring you to the event or have you on the podcast or do any other introductions is how is that supporting them? At the end of the day, there's something that is in alignment, either being their mission, their goals that supports them so that there is that support between each other. At the end, what it is, it's an alignment of mission, it's an energy, that person makes you feel good, you're feeling connected to them. The thing that people don't understand when you're at brands, there's so many layers to being at a role where you have a lot going on. There's the external investor, their expectations, the C-level suite expectation, there's your manager's expectation, depending on where you are. And what people on the outside don't understand is how much pressure there is for these individuals to produce. And sometimes not, you would be surprised how small these groups and teams
Yeah.
are.
So
So
again,
how can
like
we,
getting out of the
yeah,
kind of interesting because it's like you need to get into the mindset of being clear about what you want. Then you have to get into the mindset of being a good partner and a collaborator
mhm,
from the beginning
mhm,
and
yeah,
caring about what they're going through or what their needs are or how they can reach their objectives and what are their objectives. And so I think
yeah.
that this is important ways to go about asking and seeking out collaboration in the world today.
Yeah. Invite them to the next event you have. Get them on your newsletter. Send them your book. It's just all about giving and then you will receive. It is about showing your value even before you've started and gone into this work. And I think there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a lot of people that work with agencies that are then represent them. So there's a lot less of that, or a publicist that does all of this work. That publicist is working 24/7 on that relationship. And this is what they're doing. They're
Mhm.
building relationships, they're inviting, they're doing favors, they are doing all of the things we've just talked about 24/7. And so for you as a solopreneur or entrepreneur or a brand that is starting out and wanting to collaborate, I think all of these steps that we've shared are really going to help you make that one step forward. Depending on where you are in the process, it's do that next step and call me when you start getting all these amazing
But I
relationships.
think I just want to just end by saying I really think the mindset you go into each of the steps is so important because when I think back at
Yeah.
like being at Chopra and what felt good when people even
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
because we would have people that would just come up to us all the time and gift us like their book or their,
They
most of
were
the time it was
they
strictly,
wanted to get it to Deepak.
if you can come at it like, I want to give this maybe to the staff and Deepak or something like that. And I really care and I want to share this. I think that mindset shift is really important because I know we've had people that had done things like that and they just really wanted to be of service. And then that book somehow made it to Deepak. But when it was like strictly, if I get this book to this person, it's going to benefit me. Energy, it's the energy behind it. And that's what you're saying. And I think like
Mhm,
it's not something I've really thought about until right now.
mhm.
Probably also because being like a giver, that is
Yeah,
usually how I go about things. But we're asking people to get out of their comfort zone and
yes, we are.
ask for things and be a giver. So the way you're describing it, I just think is really important. And I'm so glad that you asked me to lead you
Yeah.
on this journey to share this wisdom with people.
I think this is one of the many conversations we'll have specifically around expansion and growth retreats, partnerships that you and I live for this. We've done it for years. And I think I want to have more of these conversations because these conversations are really going to benefit this community and beyond. This is information that could support anyone in any industry. You don't need to be in the wellness industry or in the healing arts. You can be in other industries, and this can be of support because it is all about relationships. It doesn't mean that being in service is being in your mission, in your alignment, in your flow. And this is why I love coaching. And this is why I love my work that I do with clients. It is around reminding them about that next step that they can do. The book, this is all I talk about. Just do one thing this week or one thing today that gets you closer to your goals and understanding that Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So
Wow.
we need to do one thing every day to be able to get closer. And in this information from people like ourselves that we've worked on the brand side. I'm so excited about all of the work you're doing, Jaime. I cannot wait to support you and
You already are.
get me an email so I can send it out to
I know.
somebody. And one last thing I'll share is that the more and more I'm in this space of being in service to this community that I adore so much through this show, through the book, now evolving into the membership that I want to create is really being of service when a person in our community at Wellness Culture has a question about an email that they need to send, that they can go on the forum and ask the question like, hey, can you look at this? Can you review this? Are they getting on the weekly call that we have to what is it that you need this week to get through? To connect them to the right people, to the right vendors, to the right organizations. And I'm really excited about that as the next evolution of wellness culture, seeing what the needs are, evolving with it. And I'm really excited to support you as well.
So now I need to like really think about what my official request will be.
So let them know what you have going on. Ask them what they have going on in their life. Co create. That's what it's all about. So I'm so excited that we had this conversation. And all these ideas come from these conversations you and I have personally, and what we're seeing in the wellness industry and what people are asking for. So wanted to make this accessible. And so I am so excited. Thank you for this. And I cannot wait for our next conversation. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.